Okay, we're good.
Okay, Janet?
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to call to the order the November 10th, 2020 meeting of the Edina Parks and Recreation Commission. And I'll have the director, I think, do the roll call, or Janet, whichever.
I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Nelson. Commissioner Nelson.
Here, can you hear me?
Now I can, thanks. Commissioner Strother.
Here.
Commissioner Willett.
Here.
Let's see here. Is Commissioner Morgan? No. Commissioner Nabloski.
Here.
Commissioner McCauley.
Here.
Commissionerdahlene.
Here.
Commissioner Dosketch.
Here.
Commissioner Good.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here. One of the biggest.
Commissioner Itis.
Here. Okay, item 3 on our agenda. I'd like to call for a motion and a second for the approval of the meeting agenda for this evening.
Chair Itis, I just
And then, sure.
before you get to that item, I just wanted to alert the commission that item 5A under reports and recommendations, a special project request for the bocce ball courts at Coteen Park. Unfortunately, that resident that is making that request is unable to be here this evening. We request that you, in your motion, to remove that item from your agenda tonight, so we will not have a 5A. We will add that item to your December meeting, which we hope the resident can make there as well. So that's the only correction or adjustment staff has to your agenda for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Hearing that from the director, again, asking for a motion and approval then.
This is Julie, so moved. Eileen, second.
I'm sorry, who was it that moved?
Eileen did.
She seconded.
Julie.
Julie, thank you, Julie. Sorry, it's hard to see. Okay.
No worries.
All right, ready for the vote? Okay. Commissioner Nelson.
Aye.
Commissioner Willett.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissionerdahlene.
Aye.
Commissioner Dosketch.
Aye.
Commissioner Good.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Itis.
Here, aye, here, aye. Thank you. Item 4, asking for a motion and second for the approval of the minute meetings from last month.
So move.
So move.
Second.
I second. It's Pat. Well,
Okay. Ready for roll call here. Commissioner Nelson.
Aye.
Commissioner Strother.
Aye.
Commissioner Willett.
aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissionerdahlene.
Aye.
Commissioner Dosketch.
Aye.
Commissioner Good.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Itis.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Item 5, reports and recommendations. 5B. Perry, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, I'll ask Ms. Canton to bring Mr. Miro into the meeting for you this evening. And then I'll just kind of give a couple of quick items here. This is a special project request for a skate park at Pamela Park. If the commission does recall, this is based on some special project guidelines that staff proposed and the commission approved earlier this year, actually. And it really was to kind of bring a process to how do residents bring requests to the commission. And it really helps, hopefully, the staff, the commission, and the residents kind of gauge a time investment on how much time do we want to spend up front. And this kind of allows us to have a quick conceptual conversation and then kind of have a discussion on where do we go next. So tonight is really to kind of gather that informational feedback on the request, thoughts, issues you may identify, etc. As a reminder, no decisions are being made tonight. This is kind of an informal, informational conversation, so there will be no vote on this request. But I would recommend that for ease of a virtual meeting, that when it kind of comes to questions, maybe we could use the roll call list so we kind of know a format of who goes next, and whether you have a question or don't have a question, we can kind of maybe go through that sequence to facilitate the meeting a little bit easier. So this evening we'll have staff give a brief introduction. We'll turn it over to Mr. Merrill. He can go over the details of his request. And then we'll go back to staff to kind of give a little bit more of contextual feedback. And then if the commission would like to ask questions along the way after they've kind of given their introduction, please feel free. And then at the end, we'll kind of kick it back to the commission for discussion and feedback, and then staff can kind of summarize some next steps. So we'll go staff, Mr. Merrill, staff, and then the commission can discuss how they want to go. So with that, I'll introduce Amanda Clark and Tiffany Bushlin, recreation supervisors here for the city of Edina. They've stepped up and kind of taken on the initial piece of this request to get us to this point. And I'll turn it over to them quickly, and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Perry. So yeah, we'd like to introduce Phil. He'll be talking about the Tier 1 skate park request he has here in Edina. As stated in the staff report, there are currently two types of skate parks. There are Tier 1s and Tier 2 skate parks. Currently, there's a Tier 2 skate park located at the Southdale YMCA, and they currently operate that skate park. Edina residents do have access to it at a discounted fee. However, that skate park is currently closed due to COVID-19 restrictions. And as Perry stated, Tiffany and I are happy to answer any questions you have from a staff standpoint when Phil is done talking. So thank you for coming tonight, Phil, and you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks for having me. Can everybody hear me? Great, we're good. Awesome. So yeah, the idea of Edina adopting and bringing a skate park into the community. There are, first and foremost, I don't want to get the cart before the horse here. I think initially in the first initial conversations I had with Perry, which was so great, the idea and from a location standpoint and kind of identifying Pamela Park as an opportunity or a space to potentially leverage and utilize was initially sort of months ago on our radar. Quite frankly, and I'm sure the board would agree as well, that Pamela Park probably isn't the right spot. So before we get into, where are we going to put this thing, I think me bringing, what the benefits potentially are of having a skate park and this sort of entity in the city, and what it can mean for the city, for the citizens and the kids and families here. I do have one sheet, so I'll let you guys know. I'm working closely. I know the folks at an organization called the City of Skate, based in Minneapolis. It's an organization that supports municipalities and works with cities to bring skate parks to life, ultimately. And it's a group that has helped and assisted numerous municipalities around the state. And actually neighboring municipalities around Edina. The St. Louis Park skate park on Excelsior, or actually, I get those two mixed up all the time. Minnetonka Boulevard over there. They had a hand in that, and they've had a hand in a couple of Minneapolis-based skate parks as well. One in St. Cloud, which actually there's there's a video, a YouTube video, a couple minutes long. I don't know if I can send the link to you folks to take a look at, but they have a really nice video of the mayor of St. Cloud and his endorsement for what having the skate plaza in St. Cloud has meant to that city, and it gives a really nice look at how what a positive effect a skate park can have on a city. So I don't know if that's a video that I could pull up and show now or share with you guys, or if that's something I could send out, but I do have that to send and share as well. From my friends at the City of Skate, I have a one-sheeter that I'd love to share with you guys. It's a really nice sort of bullet point list of all the attributes of what a skate park can mean to a community and how it can help the kids and the community as a whole. So if I could share that, that'd be great.
And Phil, I know we're all kind of a little bit new to probably WebEx. I just want to make sure Janet is able to make you a presenter so you have the ability to share.
Look at me. Now I need to know how to do that, right? So I'm pulling that up. Can you guys see that?
Not yet.
Are you able to see that?
No, still see you.
Oh dear, I'm sorry about that. Shoot. There it is. Okay, let's see if this works.
There we go.
Where's the Nolowski kid when I need him? Okay, I know Will, so hi Will. Okay, we can.
There you go.
Okay, great. I am going to speak to this. I'll probably just go right down the bullet points. So you know that there's your 40-year-old, meaning archaically the stereotypes that typically come with skate parks and skateboarding as a this is a new generation of skateboarding, and what in the past was sort of the skate punk culture, if you will, from 30-40 years ago. Nowadays, skateboarding truly is a recreation activity and sport that brings together, a very inclusive sport that brings folks together. So as you go down the list here, public skate parks are youth-centered community spaces. It truly is. They safely serve recreation needs of kids, especially appealing to teens looking for their own spaces. What's nice about them as well is they're very inclusive, and as we look at the low barrier of participation, very easy for folks, for kids to access skate parks. And one thing I don't want us to get hung up on either is when we say the word skate park, we just think of skateboarding. There are many sort of fundamentals that can access and leverage a skate park, different activities, if you will. So there's skateboarding, of course. There's scootering, which is very popular right now. You'll see kids scootering around the city, around the town, up and down streets and driveways. There's the opportunity access with their BMX bikes, and then rollerblades as well. So these skate parks that are being developed nowadays are very multi-purpose, multifunctional. So it truly is a very inclusive space for folks that for kids that participate and play with all these different sorts of activities can be a part of. It obviously promotes an active lifestyle, while also benefiting the mental health of communities. These active sports build confidence. They require bravery a lot. There's a lot of kids when they are participating in skate parks and in within that ecosystem. These kids are pushing themselves, maybe getting outside their comfort zones a little bit, which long term can build great skills, life skills for them. There's a lot of strong discipline, learning strategies, goal setting, and grit. I've seen that in my son, actually. This is obviously the skate park's not for me, unfortunately. It is for my son that I'm bringing this to the table for. He and his friends and the rest of the kids in the community, of course. But over the past year and a half that I've seen my son get into skateboarding, I've seen sort of an element in him that's really he's pushed himself. He's been a self-starter and really setting goals for himself. It's been a really positive experience in watching him sort of evolve as a skateboarder, if you will. He's been playing hockey for most of his life, and it's like pulling teeth to get him outside to shoot pucks. But this he's doing his own thing. It's really been inspiring to watch. And then, as we look at skate parks too, when we look at the Tri-City skate park at the Y that was brought up, and I look at well-designed, quality public skate parks that can provide real economic benefit, the skate park that was designed back in 2002, 2003 is the park itself did not take the audience that it was supposed to ultimately be providing with the skate park. The skate park that is over at the Y is incredibly advanced. It's an incredibly intimidating park for kids of intermediate ability to get in there and utilize. It's not set up for sort of that intermediate skateboarder. So the idea of working with a group that truly understands the design concept and what it takes to build a holistic park that can really bring in the inclusive nature and feel for all these different disciplines that go into a skate park is paramount to really bringing forth the right sort of element to the community. So there are a number of different skate park design groups that can get in the mix. Again, the City of Skate is a group that, and I've been speaking with Paul Forsling, who is the executive director for City of Skate. He is emphatic, and he would love nothing to be able to be a part of this project and help support and guide and work with us if we do get to that point. And again, having a group like that involved, when you look at the fundraising elements, I know this isn't cheap. There's a lot of money that goes into a project like this. The City of Skate is well equipped and well versed at fundraising. Those three projects that I brought up a little earlier, St. Louis Park and the two Minneapolis projects, City of Skate was able to work with those three projects to bring in $550 million in grants from the city, Hennepin County, which there's a ton of grants and opportunities to work with the county to bring into the mix, and they know how to navigate that those opportunities and really leverage and flex those muscles. There was also just a recent bond that was put into effect through the state. It's the first of its kind in the country, actually, and this was done within the last couple of months. So the fact that the state is stepping up and putting a bond in to support skate park development says a lot about, I think, the trajectory of skate parks and what it can mean for the positive effects for municipalities. So I don't want you guys to think that that I'm some guy that likes skateboarding and my kid skateboards. I know I've seen firsthand a lot of what skate parks can mean to a community, and I do have some allies and some folks that are very, very equipped in this space that can help if we do get to that stage too. So there's a lot of positive elements that do come from skate parks. They really do in this day and age evoke and inspire inclusivity, creativity, discipline, and a number of different elements that really come into play, especially in this day and age too, when there's a lot of downtime and kids are, kids unfortunately are spending way too much time on in front of TVs and in front of screens, and you look at the idea and the opportunity of having a space where kids can grab a scooter or grab a skateboard and just go and spend a handful of hours commiserating with their peers and building social skills and being physical, experiencing physical activity. If done right and in the right spot, these can be really, really positive projects and entities for a community. So that's kind of my spiel, I guess, on what have I not covered? I can get out of not stop sharing. There we go. Stop sharing. I hope I wasn't rambling and babbling too much. I can tend to do that sometimes, kind of like Matt Fox, who's a friend, and he can talk, and I love him for that. But yeah, if you look at sort of the surrounding entities, and you look at St. Louis Park and Eden Prairie and Hopkins and Richfield and Minneapolis, they all have skate parks. And my kid and his buddies, they're spending a lot of time either skateboarding, maybe where people don't want them skateboarding, i.e. 50th in France, perhaps. They're either, doing those sorts of things and just trying to do what they want to do without having access or really the ability to do that. We feel it'd be really beneficial for the community to be able to have a sort of an entity to do that, because now the kids are biking to the St. Louis Park St. Louis Park skate park quite often, which is quite a ways away, and it's not the easiest track to get there and that sort of thing. So it just feels like there could be a good opportunity to leverage something like this.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. Tiffany Bushland, Recreation Supervisor here. So we'll give a little spiel, Phil, and then give the commission a chance to ask any questions that they have of you or of staff. So as I mentioned, Tiffany Bushland, Recreation Supervisor, again, thank you, Phil. It's really uplifting and energizing to hear a resident push for something that he wants in his community. It makes our job fun, and to see so much passion that you have for that. So thank you for that. So Amanda and I provided the staff report to the commission. I would just like to highlight a few things on the staff report to call attention to this. I think first and foremost, Phil did a fantastic job of recognizing the benefits of a skate park. Let's keep keeping the kids in Edina. It would be a free activity, whereas the Tri-Cities Park is it's a paid admission. One thing also maybe to call attention to is that the typical age group maybe for a skate park is that 12 to 19 age range, which is an age range that we have difficulty programming for. Oftentimes we can gather the young kids in our programs, but once they age to that 12 age range, we tend to lose them. So it would be an opportunity to to get a different age range in some of our programs. And as he mentioned, a safe gathering place and, kind of that sense of community while also providing physical activity. There are a few challenges that, we have put forth in the staff report. First and foremost is funding. Without this project being identified in the current capital improvement plan, funding would be a challenge. The commission is aware the Parks and Recreation Department has 85 projects that are not funded currently in their plan, totaling over $46 million. That's a large piece of unfunded projects. In addition, not only funding initial funding for the project, but continued maintenance and then replacement cost once the amenity is out of life. We have not done any research on the total price of what Phil has put forward, but we estimate originally of something around over $100,000 for something like this. Again, we haven't done anything formal, but that's just our original estimate. And as Phil mentioned, he originally put forth Pamela Park as a location, and he kind of called attention to that maybe might not be the best location. As the commission knows, the Pamela Park is a very heavily used park, so might not be the best option. And then the skate park that we do have in Edina is at the Southdale YMCA location, already on the eastern side of the city. So, something that Amanda and I suggest making it, be a community-sized park. So a park the same size as Pamela Park, a larger park, but something easily accessible and visual, and maybe something central or on the western side of the city, so ease of access for anybody involved. He did mention a little bit about the alternative that we put forward as a pump track. So some other cities are doing a form of a skate park called a pump track, where it is, built for a wide variety of users: a mountain bike user, BMX user, skateboards, inline skaters, scooters, and even accessible wheelchairs. So that is an alternative option too, and he kind of outlined that as well. So in summary, diversifying park amenities is fantastic for the park system. A skate park, does have a lot of benefits. Mr. Merrill mentioned those. There are several different benefits to that. I think the reality that the commission has to look at is the reality of unfunded projects within our park system, and the majority of those unfunded projects are existing park amenities. So adding a skate park would be adding additional cost. So at this time, I think, as Perry suggested, we would like to request feedback from the commission, just very informal at the beginning point of the dialogue on this project. So as Perry mentioned, we can follow through with the roll call if you have questions or feedback to gauge interest on what staff would be doing moving forward.
Are we waiting for the roll call, or are we just supposed to start?
We won't necessarily do a roll call, but if you kind of wanted to go in that order, so maybe if by my charts, if we'd go Corin and then Julie.
Yep, I think I'm first. So I think this is great. I was just remembering when we used to have meetings before in person, and Oscar came, and he was not part of the actual agenda, but he came as a community comment. So I actually just talked to his mom earlier, and she was excited to see that Phil was on the agenda. So I think that's great. I agree. My kids are in the same age bracket as Phil's. So and I see these kids out in the spots that they are and are not supposed to be in. So I think it's definitely something that needs to be something that we could try to prioritize. I also understand, being on the park board for so long, that funding is always our issue of trying to figure out how to fund this, and what do we take off to make it happen. I think it's prioritizing, obviously, the things that are existing that we need to make sure are still safe. But I think you both mentioned it really, and it's totally spot on. We always struggle with this age group, trying to keep them entertained, and not just the parks, but every programming has a hard time with this age group, because particularly girls, but this is a sport that girls can do as well as boys. So I think it's just something that we could really expand on. And I think that even if it's something that if COVID goes away and we have summer programming, that we can even teach kids that don't know how to do it, so it can be a more gender neutral sport too. So I mean, obviously, if there was no funding issue, I would be ready to say aye. But I think it's great, and I'm glad to see at least it's continuing to be on the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. So we'll go to Commissioner Strother and then Commissioner Willett.
I might have a guest
join in my commentary. I will just say, I think it is a good idea. It's interesting because we've spent a little bit of time talking about with other parks, things like mountain biking, right? Another area that tries to get at this age demographic. But I guess I would echo Corin's points that it is our challenge is funding and funding the projects that are already on our list. But I also think it is something we might have opportunities when we're looking at some of these other, the parks that we've already prioritized to be updating. If it's not going to be a Pamela, location wise is probably not Stockhour either, right? But there's some other parks that we've identified as being a place where we need to make improvements. And could this be worked into any of the other items that we've already prioritized? I don't know, but I think it is something to continue to think about and keep in mind, because the current parks and the playgrounds serve this age demographic very well, right? But we want them to keep on serving the kids in the community as they continue to grow. So I appreciate you bringing it forward. And again, if we could wave a magic wand, I think I would definitely be a yes right away, but it is something that we should keep in mind as we move forward.
Thank you. So go to Commissioner Willett, and then Student Commissioner, is Commissioner Mork on the line? I didn't see him jump in. We'll go to Student Commissioner Nalofsky after that.
Yeah, coincidentally, my youngest daughter was just asking about skateboarding park today. But I guess my question or concern is around, do you know anything about like additional liability or any of that kind of stuff? Or is there increased, from just what there is with, like play gyms and all that kind of stuff? Is there any, additional injuries or anything like that you can shed some light on, Phil?
Actually, staff could probably answer that better. I don't know, Amanda or Tiff, did you want me to take that, or did you want to take that one?
Well, I can start, Perry, and you chime in if we miss something, maybe. So the League of Minnesota Cities classifies skate parks as two different tiered parks. And so the tier 2 park that is at Southdale does require an additional insurance waiver. And in their agreement with that park, it is carried by the YMCA. The tier 1 skate park does not require the additional waiver by the League of Minnesota Cities. But anything else to add there, Perry?
No, it's just the tier 2 also requires supervision, which is normally why you see a fee usually with a tier 2. But as Tiffany mentioned, a tier 1 does not. It's kind of classified as long as you follow the design requirements, similar to a playground. It's specifically designed for that. So there isn't an additional liability concern or requirement with a tier 1 park.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, we'll go to Student Commissioner Nalofsky and then Commissioner McCauley.
I think the idea is good because it's like my little brother skateboards also, and he like doesn't really have that many places to go in Edina, so I have to drive him to different places. So I think it'd be good if like there's a place in Edina where he can like bike with his friends, and then they can just like go there instead of like in the middle of like a street or somewhere, like by a bunch of like cars or other people. I think Jack's on now also.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Nalofsky. We'll go to Commissioner McCauley and then Student Commissioner Sorum.
Yeah, hi, Phil. I hope you're still involved with hockey. I have a couple of things. The funding is an issue, but I think I just read online that $8.25 million in grant money was actually passed in the state bonding bill on that city state website, but we should double check that. As far as location, I mean, I would like to see just, I don't know how we document it, but just more of an interest level, or to be able to gauge the interest level for the community, because we do have so many other projects. The mountain biking people have been in to see us a couple of times. And we're still working on that plan, and they actually have a team at the high school, I believe. So that could be an issue. But as far as location, I mean, is there room anywhere over by Fred Richards? No. Or is that's kind of west a little bit. That might be a better location for space there.
Mine too. That came to mind. Am I muted or am I on? I'm sorry.
No, we can hear you.
Right on. No, I'm with you, Eileen. Fred Richards came to mind for me as well. At one point too. So yeah, I think that could be certainly worth considering. And
yes, I think what we should do to help us gauge, what the level of interest is. But if staff, I mean, rather than staff putting in a whole lot of time, because we've got so much else on our plates right now, maybe just a phone call at least to the St. Louis Park and Recreation, just to see what the level of use is of their skate park. At least make a couple of phone calls to gauge that. That's something I would like to see before pushing this forward.
Sure. And then when you talk about the community and getting a gauge of the local folks too, how would you suggest we go about doing that? Because I'd be happy to to lead that, of course. I know that it takes
maybe, I don't know, maybe City State could help you out with that. Is there a club? Is there, and rather than just anecdotal tidbits here and there, because we do have so many other projects that are unfunded right now. We'd have to explain why this is jumping up a list of things that are there. Except for the fact that the grant money at the state level, I don't know if you've talked to them about accessing that grant money and what you need to do that.
I've briefly spoken to Paul about grant opportunities and sort of how those funds could be leveraged, and they are there. So like I said, there were $550 million between 3 skate parks, that one in St. Louis Park and 2 in Minneapolis, that City of Skate was able to help pull together. So I think the idea and opportunity of wanting to get creative with this too, that's what I'm all about, especially from a funding perspective. So understanding that there is potentially some state money for us and county money for us to go after. Fantastic. This is we all know the communities we live in, and there are folks and entities and doors to knock on, quite frankly, that I'd be happy to start knocking on doors and seeing different from a privateer standpoint and from a corporation standpoint who we could tap into and find additional funds. So I think for us to think, okay, City of Edina, we want you to build us, i.e. a skate park. That's not, that just isn't feasible and responsible on my part. So I know, I've been in corporate sponsorships for a long time too. So I know how to navigate those worlds too. So that's there for us.
Yeah, and 8.25 million is a lot of money to be in a bonding bill for a skate park. So that's definitely something that should be followed up on. And if you could find more information of that, definitely was there, got passed, and how much is still there.
Right.
How much is in the grants. Maybe City Skate could help you out with that.
Yeah, they can. I'll talk to Paul about that for sure. Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things I would like to know before either saying yes or no. Not that I said saying yes or no to the park, but whether I support it or not going forward.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. We'll go, next we'll go to Student Commissioner Sorum and then Commissionerdahlene. And Janet, I am showing that Commissioner Dosketch is in as an attendee, so maybe you can promote him into the meeting. So we'll go to Commissioner Sorum right now.
First of all, I'd just like to say thank you, Phil, for bringing up this great idea. And I just like to reaffirm what Will Nalofsky said about how it'd be a great idea to get a good designated space for Edina kids to go and skateboard, just so that they're off the streets and just a great spot for kids to go and not have any run-ins with like at 50th and France, because I've heard about that from some of my friends. And I just think that the kids that I know that skate would just love to have a great spot in the middle of Edina to go to. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sorum. We'll go to Commissionerdahlene, and then if we don't get Commissioner Dosketch in yet, we'll go to Commissioner Good, and then we'll go back to him. But Commissionerdahlene.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Thanks, Phil, for pulling this together and bringing it up. I think, instead of spending time trying to solution about what park this might be in, it should be in the west side, the east. I think we have to look at the bigger picture, which is, and I think this is something that's been on our work plan for years now, but are we able to bring alternative sources of funding for some of these amenities that we're looking to put into our park system? And I look at stuff like the Hornet locker room up at Braemar, and I look at stuff like the Moody pickleball courts, and there's obviously been precedent that we're having these large privately sourced fundraising efforts to be able to then work coincidentally with the city and with the Park and Recs department to be able to stand things like these up. And so to me, it feels like if there's an opportunity either through grant money or through other fundraising opportunities, then this becomes a real something that we come back to the Park and Recs department to put together a plan with, because we would have the funding. And if that's something that we can help Phil with, or Phil has an ability to do because through his connections with the city skater, the public group that he's been working with before, I think that this is a real viable option. I think also when you look at all of the amenities outside of the things that we always end up talking about, which is playgrounds that need to be updated and those types of things, it is kind of nice to look at things that are maybe more of an alternative than what we typically have, which is tennis courts, basketball courts, hockey rinks, baseball fields, to have something that's a little bit, a newer type of sport. It's not very traditional. It's a little bit, like I said, not alternative in a way of like an alternative to, it's much more commonplace. I've read if you saw on the sheet that Phil shared with us, this is going to be an Olympic sport in 2021. So, but it would be on something that's much different than what we have here in our amenities in Edina, even though we share on York. So I think that that's probably the key here, is to find out how and if we're able to bring and access private funds as a donation to help fund some of this. And if so, then, then I think we need to formulate a plan that then becomes in front of the commission for some sort of vote. So that's it.
Great.
Thank you. And I see we have moved that. So let's go to Commissioner Good and then Commissioner Miller, and we'll try to get Commissioner Dosketch back into the room.
All right. Thanks, Perry. First off, thanks, Phil, for your interest, spending the time on bringing it to our attention. Again, I echo what you've heard from a few other commissioners. This truly, I think, is a case of follow the money. It's a great idea. It's one we've heard before. As Corin mentioned, we had Oscar last year, and Oscar just knocked it out of the skate park, if you would. Here's a young man that said, I do this, I would use this, I would love to see this in our community. And if funding were no object or obstacle for us at that time, I think there were a number of people that became very passionate about it as well. I like the diversity in park amenities that this would bring to us. I like the age group that it's addressing. I just, to be brutally honest, I just don't see where it rises to the top unless we can attach some dedicated funding to it. So if there's a way, as Eileen noted, if there's a way to get to some of the state funds, if there's a way that we can attach some private funding to it, I really think that's what's going to kind of get it to rise to the top of the long list that Terry shared with us earlier today, where we've got just project after project, and 80% or more, we'd all look at them and say, yeah, those are good projects. Again, very positive on the idea itself, and I'm sure we'll find the right spot for it, but I just think without good dedicated funding, it's going to be difficult to see it move forward in the near term.
It's fair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I knew that coming in. That was going to be the
Yep.
The hurdle for sure.
It's always about the money in these things, right?
Man.
Good ideas are around.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Janet's going to try to unmute Commissioner Dosketch to see if we will be able to hear him. So let's give that a try.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So my only additional comment would be that we'll have to have some sort of view or assessment of community needs and desire relative to, the 2016 survey kind of put it on the lower end of the spectrum, and showing that support today, I think we'd have to have some data behind it before we would provide that sort of recommendation that it would be something that would rise to, adding to the list of projects that potentially could be funded. So that's my only other comment.
All right, thank you. So we'll go to Commissioner Miller and then Chair Itis.
All right, thanks, Phil, for the time and the energy. Really appreciate the citizen involvement. We're blessed in Edina to have that. Couple questions. One, I'm kind of confused on the math. I've heard, a non-scientific thrown out initial estimate for a tier 1 park being something 100K or more. And then I heard you say twice that City of Skate has helped raise $550 million. So to me, that's, and I don't know if City of Skate is an international organization, but to me, that would seem we could put a park in every city in the world.
Thank you for calling out that number. That's 550,000.
Okay.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Yeah, 550,000.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, right. Exactly. 550 million.
Yeah, so we're done.
Parks everywhere. So yes.
Okay, and then was that through private funding?
No, that was actually the county, Hennepin County.
Okay. All right. Is the St. Louis Park a tier 1 or a tier 2?
1.
Tier 1? Okay. And that would be the nearest one to Edina right now, right?
Correct. That's the easiest access for the kids. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then, and I don't know if there's a difference between tier 1 and tier 2, but is there any idea what ongoing maintenance costs are for these? I'm sure there's some replacement costs, but
that comes down to the design. It literally, if the design is right, and I've talked to Paul about this too, because I asked him that question yesterday. Actually, I'm like, I know a primary concern is going to be maintenance and upkeep and how this. He said you can most cities factor in around $3,500 a year to maintain a well-built skate park. They ultimately, in a lot of ways, take care of themselves. The way they're built, they're so durable. It's a lot of concrete. It's a lot of materials that are fairly indestructible in a lot of ways. And if I could play this video of the mayor of St. Cloud, 2 minutes. I'd love for you guys just to hear from him. But the whole point of community and how these kids step up and they adopt the park. They have adopted the park in the skate plaza in St. Cloud, and he said, the way they take care of it on their own, knowing that it ultimately is for them and it is, in powerful, so the maintenance piece, it's certainly there, but it is pretty low maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, I think, kind of for the commission members, I just wonder if as we go through and look at some of the strategic plans for Fred Richards and Braemar, if this could be a consideration in those ongoing strategic plans that would be updated again before we do anything. we might want to keep that on our radar, because that would be a vehicle that could help as we get it in. But I agree. I think kind of we can get it funded outside of the budget. You know, I'm not going to speak for Perry and the city about 3,500 or 5,000 or whatever it would be for maintenance, but you know, things that can be funded outside of the city's actual budget, we've shown we can get done. So you know, if we can find a way there through the state bonding bill, the county, the you know, corporate, I don't know, what's that, Monster energy drink or whatever other, but if we can find a way to that, then I think that's the best opportunity to get this done. But I think it's a great idea.
Lots of matzo skate. Let's go. Right?
There you go.
Hey, Dinah, come on. Yeah, no, it's I think I look forward to that part of it and find a way to support this and that. You guys speak about the pickleball courts. So were those 100% privately funded, or how did that work? Or just to help me understand how that worked.
Correct. Yeah, I think if they weren't 100%, I think they were darn near 100% of a philanthropic donation by the Moody family.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Great. Okay. Good.
And then we had Chairitis. Did you want to
see the video? Do you? I'm just.
I think just technology-wise, I think it might be easier if Phil, if you wanted to email it to me, I can email it to the commission.
Of course. Great. Thank you.
Phil, I shared the link on this chat thing on the side of this with everybody.
Yeah. Mike's got it in the chat.
I'm assuming it's that. It's Mayor Dave Kleiss, St. Cloud, the value and quality. Yeah. So I put that on the chat here.
Thank you for doing that. Great. Thanks.
Yep.
That was a nice.
Mike done? So, I want to again thank you, Phil, for spending the time. I just have one question. I haven't been able to see the St. Louis Park one. How much space, how much area do you need, or would like?
Good question, and I don't have that number off the top of my head, to be perfectly honest with you. All I know is the St. Louis Park is, according to City of Skate and the users that do use it, they feel that that ultimately they were slighted a bit. It's not as large as it should be or could be for sort of the right use, the let's say perfect usage, if you will. I'll get those numbers for you, Rick and team, and let you know what we're
that would help. Just, you know,
absolutely.
There was a comment about other spaces, certainly to Fred and perhaps at Braemar Park, that there might be an opportunity if we'd pursue this in the future. My other comment is about, well, there's a previous comment about the community needs assessment done 4 years ago. And I think we have an initiative as a park board again next year to re-engage with the community, looking at prioritization of not just the things that we want to do next year, but certainly in the near future. And I think in hearing your passion, and probably people that you know certainly that are interested, we might take that upon you know, our initiative ourselves to re-engage this as one of our talking points, perhaps as we go throughout the community next year. You know, would perhaps help you and certainly us as we talk about other things that are on the docket, so to speak. So that's all I have. I think there were some good questions, and we want to thank you again for your time and energy put behind us, certainly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate the consideration and your time as well.
Chair, maybe I'll just quickly summarize maybe some next steps. Thanks to Mr. Merrill for bringing this up and attending tonight. Thank you to Amanda and Tiffany for kind of doing the initial first class on this. I think we'll, in the near future, reconnect with Mr. Merrill. We'll share the video of St. Cloud with you. We'll make sure you get that out. I'm hearing general openness to the request, as long as we kind of answer the maybe 4 pillars of questions of demand, funding, location, and level of use. Kind of put them in those 4 buckets. It's similar to what I think a lot of the commentary was around this. But if there's anything else, we'll connect with Mr. Merrill, and then we'll reconvene on this idea again. Not necessarily a vote or a request tonight, but just wanted to get some general feedback on the concept and basically kind of take the temperature on the special request.
And just a quick update, Rick, to your question about size, I just pulled up the St. Louis Park website, and understanding Phil's comment that it was potentially constructed too small. They call it 6,500 square feet. So I mean, it's less than a quarter of an acre, I think. So it's did not take up too much land for the skate park itself, if those numbers are accurate.
Thanks. Thank you.
Here. Super. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Phil.
All right.
Chair, would you like me to move on to item 5C?
Sure, please. Please, thank you.
Again, just an update quick. Included in your packet is the commission work plan. Looking for any updates as my traditional as I go through. Again, we don't need any updates currently on items 1 or 2. Those are either initiatives that you're waiting on, other feedback, or we've altered them to turn those into a different type of initiative for the future, as well as initiatives 5 and 6, the alternative funding, resources for the FRED and for Braemar. Those necessarily, or not necessarily, we've not made any progress due to some of the considerations around the loss proposal and kind of where we're at just fiscally at this point. But if you had any options or ideas for items 3, 4, and 7, we could take note of that if there are any updates that commissioners wanted to provide.
I can go first, Perry. I think you already know this as well, but I'll just restate it. So 3 and 4 are mine, and we have gotten all the feedback, and in trying to figure out a time for us all to get together to have a conversation, I think the best is to send out the feedback via email and see if there's a need for us to get together as we consolidate this, or if we want to just chime in on it, because we've gotten feedback now from several different groups as well as our initial meeting. I think that might be easier because it seems to be that we try to find a time that works, and then by the time we found a time, the times have all passed. So if that's okay, I think the meeting group is small enough that I can send it out without having to have any meeting issues. Correct?
You are correct. Yeah, your work group initiatives are sized appropriately for any quorum or open meeting law issues. So,
perfect. So that's my plan, is to finish consolidating this and just sending it out to the group to see if there's any other feedback, and we can move on from that point, rather than trying to find a meeting time. Thank you.
Work Initiative 7, just a quick add on that. Our team has a meeting now scheduled for next Monday afternoon, so we'll come with a better developed feedback than in the December meeting.
Monday at 4.
Monday at 4.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair. That's all. Then that's all that staff had. That is all that staff had for item C. Then.
Thank you, Gary. Item number 6, member comments.
I guess I'll just start out by saying that my husband and my son went to the changes at the Golf Dome, and we're pleasantly surprised with this new simulators. And my son's been dying to go to Topgolf for a long time. And I was like, look, we have Topgolf here in Edina. And then actually I've talked to several other people who were saying, I wish we had a Topgolf here. And I mentioned that they should go to the Dome, and actually I heard back from them that some really good feedback. So I think that it's been a good, I don't know what the numbers look like, but it seems like it's been a really good win. So I decided to share that.
This is Julie. I don't necessarily have a comment, but I have a question. I am wondering if the new recommendation, not new recommendations, the new restrictions that the state is putting out on gatherings and how it deals with serving food, like, is that going to impact, I guess is my question, maybe I'll deal with this in the comment section, but does that impact any of our current facilities that are open at all?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. The easy answer is to say yes, it does. It's kind of the limited amount of the details of what you wanted to see. So right off the bat, the social gatherings, whether they are impromptu or planned, are now limited to 10. No longer is there an indoor and an outdoor. The challenge I think we will have is it's supposed to be limited to three or less families. As we were looking forward to, how to plan around warming houses, Centennial Lakes parks, up until today, we had been working off of a capacity number as a percentage of full occupancy. So those types of issues we will have to look at in detail and say, okay, how are we going to go forward now over the winter with the new guidance? And as we've known from dealing with this since March, staff's been trying to be very nimble, very flexible. And so a change like this will not rattle staff. They will take this in stride and just continue to adapt on how we do program that. Our biggest concern as we've kind of entered in this, I guess I'll keep answering your questions, bars and restaurants, we do have, counter service at the Golf Dome. However, that is designed as a counter service on purpose. There's no sitting or standing allowed. So that would be able to continue. Had we been open past 10 p.m., that would have been restricted. Red River Kitchen, obviously, with the bar and grill there, those types of issues will have to be adapted to them. We'll also have to look at if we had any receptions of any sort on the docket for weddings, whether they be at Centennial or at the golf course. Starting now, and then I think it's believed December 10th, those will be adjusted, those numbers. So we'll continue to refine the announcement from today and then apply that accordingly. I think, the biggest concern we have is just, case numbers in general and how we're managing not just new guidance, but existing guidance. We're going to need cooperation from all of our partners to not only meet new guidance, but the existing guidance. So we'll continue to try to be constructive on that. We're meeting again with our community health group to kind of go over of where we should be as well, not just what the guidance is, but what should we be proposing? What should we be programming? As we've seen, just the appetite for indoor programming just isn't quite there yet, and we understand why that is. So, first and foremost, we want to keep our staff safe. We want to keep our patrons safe. And, as we discussed throughout the year, we don't want to do anything that's going to kind of put us in a financial difficulty as well. And that's why we really need cooperation to get this under control. We navigated through 2020. It would be really nice if we could get back to what normal operating is for 2021, because there are financial stressors to limited guidance. We are not immune from the private sector when it comes to some of our operations, especially on the enterprise side. So it kind of takes all of us. We've heard that. We need to do our part and know that we're going to try to take a very measured and very proactive step on everything that we do going forward.
Thank you.
I have just a couple comments, Perry. I have been over to the Dome several times already. Any feedback about total time golf versus what we had last year? And then I'll have another one after that.
Thank you, Chair. I think, initially the response has been very positive to what we anticipated moving indoors. As you know, we did open early to get people adjusted to going into the Dome. We had the Golf Dome open at the same time that the course and the driving range were operating. So we did have a few folks that were coming in to get accustomed to the new protocols that we put in place. Our first week opening was some of the nicest weather we've had in November in a long time. And I think after that initial bout of snow, people weren't quite sure if they were going to come indoors or not. However, we did see that come in. Obviously, with the course, we did want to close. We wanted to make sure we got a number of maintenance items done on the championship course and on the Academy 9 to ensure we're in a really good position coming into next year, especially with the number of rounds that were played out there. We really had some essential work to get done. So moving indoors, the first couple of weeks here of what we would consider our normal operating season have been positive. We do go through a number of protocols when you enter. Masks are required in all the common areas until you get to your bay, where you fall under what's kind of the recreational portion of the Minnesota Department of Health guidelines. We encourage people to wear masks at their hitting bays, but they are not required under that guidance. But masks are required in all other portions of the Dome. One of the other pieces of the COVID plan as well is we did move to all time golf. That just eliminates a number of touch points for us, whether it's baskets, the machines, everywhere else. When you think of kind of just the pure number of people who go in there. We've also limited the capacity. We have one person per bay on the upper level and 2 people per bay on the lower level. That's quite a change from the past. In addition, we're looking at some sort of reservation or wait in line type software. So as we get into the busy season here, people will know, how long is it till I can get on? That's also one of the advantages of time golf is we know when that next bay is going to open. When we look at bucket golf, that could have been a half hour or 2 hours. So we just didn't have the ability to give people an answer on when a bay would be open. Switching to time golf obviously really helps with all the COVID protocols to go through this. So initial reaction is, we're fielding a lot of questions about, the time versus bucket golf. However, when we've been able to connect with people to talk through, due to these protocols, it's really advantageous to us and to the user of how we're going through there. So more to come. Obviously, with these guidelines, we're always adept at, how are we doing? How's our staff doing? How are our patrons managing it? And we'll adjust accordingly.
Thank you. Yeah, and as I said, I've been there several times, but the safety is just very apparent. When we left our bays, every time one of the staff people comes in immediately and cleans that most of the touch areas off, and it just it really looks good in terms of their preparation of getting us through the winter, hopefully. I don't have any other comments other than, you mentioned just a few seconds ago about hopefully doing a better year. I don't know how much better than 80,000 rounds can be, but I think that was a pretty good effort on you and all the staff, I think, this year.
Thank you. And I'd be negligent to maybe, I don't know if Tracy, putting her on the spot, I guess, if she has any comments on the Dome, for her overseeing of the enterprise and the programming side on a few of those questions. If she had anything to add or not. She does not. Okay. I don't want to put her on the spot, but I guess I just did. Okay, with that, then, Chair, if you're okay, we'll jump over to, I believe it is
the informational items.
The informational items, and I know Mr. Swenson is going to give us a an update on Melody Lake Park. But other than that, as he's preparing that, I'll just go through, in your packet is a number of events and updates on some of the fall items we have. I will update you that we did have one math error, so someone did point that out. I'm glad you're reading the packet. We had 71,061 rounds total, so we know someone's reading the packet. So obviously preparing for our upcoming winter season. The Senior Center, Hennepin County Library is still under construction. A clarification from last month's meeting, Commissionerdahlene, the agreement for live streaming does not include the high school. They actually have their own with the same company. So wanted to make sure we clarified that. And then also we're working with 2 scouts right now on their Eagle portions, both signage projects. And to Commissioner Good's point, we are going to wrap in the Frisbee golf for that scout project at Roslyn Park. So with that, I'll turn it over to Assistant Director Swenson.
Thank you, Perry, and good evening, Commissioners. I was going to share my screen just to pull up a couple graphics to make this a little bit more interesting. So I was going to give you an informational update on the Melody Lake neighborhood, specifically the neighborhood roadway reconstruction that's going on or is scheduled to happen in 2021. This neighborhood on 56th Street down Melody Lake Lane and through Code Avenue, they're getting a roadway reconstruction project that's scheduled to start in 2021. Pairing with the synergy with that and working with Jessica Wilson, the engineering water resources coordinator, we've identified an area along the city parcel that could use some stormwater treatment, especially along this buffer to treat water and also to create some improve water quality, remove buckthorn, enhance nature, and provide a pollinator habitat. The funding for this really comes from the Jessica's stormwater budget, but it is land that we are currently mowing, so I am partners with her on this project. Some of the feedback we got from the neighborhood this summer, we met a couple times on site and met a few of the neighbors that lived adjacent to this property and got some informal information from them. But also Edina more and more is using Better Together Edina. And it's something I suggest everybody check out for any projects that are going on in their neighborhood or anything that they're interested in. It's a great way for the city to get direct feedback from people on specific upcoming projects. So I'm not going to go through all these bullet points, but these are the results from October of 2020. And it's interesting, the people use this area mostly to take a look at the lake, enjoy the wildlife. They enjoy fishing, canoeing. One of the things we did learn was a lot of kids use it for sledding. There's a steep grade coming down to this Melody Lake area, and the kids use that for sledding in the winter. And also there seemed to be a lot of support for improving natural areas at other park properties that we have in our system. So then we took this feedback and tried to incorporate it into the design as we move forward here with this in 2021. So the goal again is remove a lot of invasive buckthorn, which will help open up lake views for the neighborhood, and then also create some vantage points along the lake. And along with that, we're going to put a few boulders down by the shoreline that have flat spaces and are angular, so people can stand on them, look over the lake, launch a canoe, fish off of them, just to create a more interesting vantage point. And then from the feedback that kids use this area for sledding, management-wise in the future, after this is implemented, we would mow all these native plants down in the fall, which is actually a management tool, but also it would create a safe area still for kids to go sledding like they currently are enjoying right now. This slide is a land cover slide. It shows, again, here's Melody Lake again. It shows where this project is headed. We would still mow a buffer strip along Code Avenue. We'd still mow along the neighbor to the north, but this steep area right now that we're mowing would be converted to a short mesic prairie, and this would enable pollinator-friendly habitat, along with removing buckthorn along this southern piece, and then improving the native shoreline all through here with native plants. And this will treat the stormwater runoff from these new roadways as they're being implemented, and then it matches up with a lot of our goals, citywide goals of improving nature and improving the environment. And this is a rendering sketch similar to what we did on the south side of Lake Cornelia. Currently, we have a bench along the shoreline that would stay in place, but we're going to install a trailway down to the bench and then put a few rocks in this area right along the shoreline here. That would be very flat, so you could stand on them to fish. And then in this rendering, there's some people launching a canoe. So I just wanted to really it's an informational update, project update, show you a few slides in case you didn't see it on Better Together or in our past communications. And with that, I'll turn it back to Perry. I maybe went through those a little too quickly, but.
Thank you, Tom. This kind of completes our informational items. We had two quick items on our city council update. The city did receive a grant from Hennepin County. It was just under $50,000, and it's for a healthy tree canopy agreement where City Forester Luther Overholt will now be able to do an inventory of all public trees on public property. Did you get that right, Tom? Currently, we've inventoried all ash trees. This will complete the remainder of tree inventory on there. And then at the November 4th meeting during the work session, the City Council did review and commented on the commission work plans. No substantial changes to that. And I believe they will make final recommendations on your work plan. I believe it's in December, early December. So once that's finalized, we'll bring you their comments and changes to that. As far as upcoming and meeting events after today's announcement, I would plan on December 8th being another virtual meeting. So you can kind of count on that. And then also in December, they will finalize the 2021 meeting schedule. Typically, just so if you wanted to plan, all of our meetings are usually on that second Tuesday of the month. If you wanted to do that on your own prior to an official schedule being set. The one exception most likely is going to be August, I believe, related to elections. That one might swing to a Monday or to a Wednesday. But again, once this calendar is finalized, we'll bring that to your attention. Chair, that's all the updates staff had for the commission this evening.
If there's no other comments or question, I'll ask for the motion and second for adjournment.
Motion
So moved.
Second.
Does Janet do roll call or do you, Perry?
I got it. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yep.
Commissioner Nelson,
Aye.
Commissioner Strother,
Aye.
Commissioner Willett,
Aye.
Commissioner Lalowski,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Sorum. Is he there? No. Commissionerdahlene,
Aye.
Commissioner Dosketch. See you there. Commissioner Good,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Itis.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Janet.
We adjourn.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Be safe and be well. Thank you.
Drive
you.
safe.
See ya. Bye-bye.